All right, Stochastic, here we go. It's your old pal Emac coming to you on a special Saturday afternoon, NFL Saturday. We have the holidays coming up that are going to create a few unique slates for us. We've got no more bye weeks, no more games in Europe or other international areas. So while we don't have that 13-game slate like we did last Sunday, we have an 11-gamer with the healthy 4-game slates, but we get 2 games today for our viewing pleasure, and it's at least interesting. It's at least interesting. So we're going to talk through these. I am joined by one Travis Mangone, who is now here under the Stochastic and Tails umbrella. So we're going to have a little fun. We've known each other for quite some time, way back in the early days of the industry. I was looking at my RG account, just over 14 years since I signed up there.
That's crazy. You were really an OG then. 14 years. Mine was 2015 or 26. I think it was 2015 or something like that. So yeah, 14 years. That's 2000. Is that 2011? That's crazy.
Yeah, 2011. I found DraftKings not DraftKings wasn't even around. I found FanDuel and Draft Street just before the baseball All-Star break that June, and I was like, first, I thought it was like illegal money laundering because they used to put dollar leaderboards up, like of how much people had made rolling leaderboards for a week. And I'm like, there's no way you can make this much in fantasy sports. I thought it was money laundering. So
I almost signed up in 2010. I was at this school, and I didn't like the school I was at in college, and I saw a promo for it, and I was like, maybe I'll sign up for it. And then I never signed up. And instead, I was just playing League of Legends with my friends. So, I wish I got in 4 years earlier, but I just saw it, and I was like, again, it was kind of like what you said, Emac. I saw a random ad, and when I saw the ad, it didn't look like it was legit because it was like, bootleg. So I was just like, all right, I'm not going to take a shot on this. But
yeah, my first thoughts were, is this legal? Is this money laundering? And then my next thought was, where have you been all my life? This was... It was so much fun. And here we are doing it still 14 years later. But let's turn our attention to today. We do have the inactives here for Philadelphia. No surprises there. Lane Johnson out as expected. Other Johnson, I can't think of his Frank Johnson, I think his name is playing. It's the other offensive tackle. He was dealing with the sore ankle. On the Commanders side, I didn't know Chase Edmonds was on their roster. What do you know? He's inactive. As is Larry Tunsil, George Fant, Colson Yankoff, Jaden Daniels shut down for the year. So nothing crazy there. We do have Chris Rodriguez back, who missed last week. So that is kind of where we are with that. The big pieces of news are, will DeAndre Swift play in the nightcap? And more importantly, will Brandon Jacobs?
I think Swift is like in Emac.
He seemed to be trending in. Josh Jacobs seems to be trending out. He has not practiced.
So we should talk about that because that's like probably the biggest. Yeah, this is like the biggest thing in the slate. I think he's in. There is a beat writer. I know he reported yesterday, the Packers beat writer. He's a pretty reputable one, but he says it's like a little bit closer, more on the doubtful side. And like warm-ups are going to be key. I'm playing as Jacobs is in. I feel pretty confident in that too. So he grinds and kind of plays most games, and I would play as he's in though. That's how I'm attacking the slate. If you want to attack it differently, that's your opinion on it. But I think from everything that I'm looking at, it seems like you want to take the chance on Jacobs. And honestly, Jacobs' ownership could be really low. We'll obviously get to that, but I'm playing it as he's in. So.
Which will be fun because I'm kind of playing it as if he is out. Now, the easy pivot is if he is out, you can just go to Wilson or one of the Bears backs. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Salary is not super duper tight and we're going to focus more on DraftKings today. Travis is building out some on FanDuel. I'm playing 50 on DraftKings. I'm also quietly off to the side building the showdown for this because I'm
also doing one single entry team. So we will talk about that with only picking one lineup. Like that seems very difficult on this slate, but I'm doing trying to figure out what my single entry is going to be. And when we get the quarterbacks, that's where it's going to get interesting because this slate's tricky.
It's tricky and fun at the same time. So it is our puzzle. But I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Tails here. So let me share that screen. So Tails is something we have been working on here, and we are putting it out as free content, and there is some premium content there. But as you guys know, we went through a little bit of a site redesign here to improve the optimization and some other features. So to get to Tails, you can go here to the Tails Expert Pick. That is under the OddsShopper. I'm going to drop that link here into the chat for everyone. But we have over 200 contributors here that are providing free content, paid content, etc. Almost everybody who's premium puts forth free picks throughout the day, just so you guys can see how they're doing. But then if you get Greg, Josh, Lofty, those guys are all going to always be free. Ben has a premium package because he gets into the weeds with weird soccer, slate football, if you will, in Africa and third tier Siberian arm wrestling, etc. So he's got some free, some premium, but it's a lot of fun. So easy ways to navigate now that we have so many people. You can hit the Find Experts button, and hey, let's look for Emac because that guy put some content out there today too. So you can filter by the person, and then you can see everything they've done. And oh, well, look at that, Travis. Somebody has done a nice job here of putting up a full breakdown of every relevant player in today's player pool. So you guys need to check that out. I'm going to drop that link into chat as well.
That's free. That's free, man.
For free. 100% free. Now, this is where some of my articles are now. I know you guys have been following me around from Stochastic to OddsShopper here as they're redesigning the site. WordPress is not the priority. So I will always have free content for you guys every day, but you just got to find me. Follow me on Twitter at Emac DFS, so you'll always know. But that's where you guys can get me over here on Tails. So it broke down everything. Spent about 3 hours this morning writing that article. So check that out there. All right, so let's talk quarterbacks. So I'm going to change this to the data hub. Just so we have a little bit of organization here. We can go by position. So obviously on both sites, Hurts ends up being the overwhelming most popular play. No surprise there. Caleb Williams and Jordan Love are kind of a coin flip. Those guys are very similar players, right? Mistake-free football. Their teams aren't afraid to run. Decent defense. Chicago, one good defense, even without Micah Parsons. The Packers still have a good defense. So those guys are sort of mirror images of each other. And then you got Marcus Mariota down here. My rule for today, for my 50 lineups I'm building on DraftKings, I will have no more than 30% of any of these quarterbacks. That's how I'm going to try to start off on the right foot of getting some differentiation here. What would you like to call out amongst these quarterbacks that we have?
Yeah, so one thing I'll say, and this is just like my gut, right? Like I see like Marcus Mariota being pushed a lot, and I don't love it, but I get why it's doing it, right? Because I guess it's going to differentiate in a way. Part of me, and we should talk about the weather a little bit, Emac, I guess. That's like, because it does matter a little bit today. Let me just pull it up to make sure nothing's changed, as I looked at it a couple hours ago. But from what I looked at, Green Bay, it looked like it was going to be 15 mile per hour, sustained winds, gusts 25, 35 to 40, and it's going to be like 32 degrees, and then Eagles going to be 42 degrees. But the one thing I will call out, Emac, and I think this matters a little bit, is the totals are pretty identical, right? So because those totals are identical, I don't think the slate is playing like that. You have a 44.5 in the Eagles game and a 45.5. So that is making me kind of lean a little bit into the late game more, just because the totals are pretty similar, right? And one thing that I think that I'm going to do is I think I'm going to play a lot of Jordan Love stacks. I think Jordan Love is, and maybe it's not the Packers bias. I have a Rodgers jersey on, not a Love jersey. But I think the Packers, they own the Bears. They will. We'll see if it changes here. It hasn't changed to start this year. But I'm going to lean into the Packers a little bit. There's also, obviously, you have Jaden Reed. You have Christian Watson. When you're MMEing, you do have to guess a little bit with some of these receivers. I kind of think it's a good spot for Jaden Reed. I'm going to lean into him, I think, the most. I might even lean into Watson just because I don't know if the field is going to lean into Watson as much. They're leaning into Terry McLaurin, A.J. Brown, and all these different guys. But for me, I do really like the Packers side of the ball. Like, for instance, I mentioned this in my tail stuff, Emac, but one way I think you would just naturally be different on this slate is if you don't play Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, right? Like, instead of looking for the unique piece, right? I'm not going to say, let me play this low-owned guy that no one's on. I'm going to say, who can I fade that's high-owned and still play good plays around it? I think that's the key on shorter slates. Now, again, this is a 2-game slate, but that's how I'm playing it, Emac. I'm going to try to find, with the uniqueness in my lineups, how can I fade certain things? So being able to do, if I played a Jordan Love stack, and let's say I played Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, and not Terry McLaurin, and DJ Moore, I mean, that's going to be unique in itself alone, right? So that's one way you can do it. But I mean, Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts are my 2 favorite quarterbacks for sure. I don't love Mariota, and I'm not as excited about Caleb Williams just because I think if the Bears do have success, I do think it's running the ball. I mean, it's just that's what they need to be doing, and they're just so thin at receiver. And if you do play Caleb Williams stacks, I just think they kind of go down a pretty obvious similar path, if that makes sense, because they don't have guys to throw to, right? It's just they're so shorthanded. So that's kind of why I don't like the Caleb Williams stuff as much. One unique way to build Jalen Hurts stacks that I think is intriguing, Emac, is if you played Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and Dallas Goedert, and you do not play A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith. And is it possible A.J. Brown gets you 2 DK points and Devonta Smith gets you 11, and that's not the winning team? Yes, that is certainly possible. So, again, that's what I'm searching for when I run the Sims and I make my teams. How can I find a team that's sharp, but also like playing sharp plays, but also, unique combinations, if all that makes sense?
I like your approach on this, because at the end of the day, we've seen on these two game slates, it's always like, I was so close to that team, and you're missing just something. And we focus on the low-owned guy that does well, but what about knocking off, the more popular guys that are kind of boom bust? And frankly, that's what the entire Eagles offense is at this point. What are they favored by? About a touchdown, really no passing yards at this point from Smith, or pardon me, from Hurts here. He has 183 or fewer passing yards in 7 of his games. So there's just not that PPR stuff. I mean, remember, what was it? Season before Barkley, where it was like, oh my God, the Eagles are up by 3 touchdowns in the third quarter. They're just not even trying in the fourth quarter. To now it's like the internal team is like, we hate it here. We're not having fun after they're the reigning Super Bowl champions, right? Just because they're annoyed with the conservative offense. But that has borne out in a limited fashion here. Now, everything's heavily concentrated. So sort of backing up what Travis is saying there, if you look at the Eagles, the 3 main people are Smith, Brown, and then Goddard here. They know the next closest person in receiving, what is it called, target share, is Barkley. I think he's around 12%, and then everybody else is in single digits for target share. It's just like there's nothing else. So do you want to guess at a Dotson getting 2 for 43 and maybe a lucky touchdown, or do you want to skip one of the other guys that's super popular? So I like how you're saying that. We're just saying this in 2 different ways, but I think it's important to hammer that home, because 2 game slates are vastly different than showdown, are vastly different than main slate.
Yeah, Emac, here's another way to think about it, right? So if I told you on this slate, right, like you're probably showing up with at least one of these spend up running backs, and everyone's showing up with Barkley. What if you don't show up with Barkley and you play Josh Jacobs, right? And then you play Jordan Love, okay? And now I'm going to plug in A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, and Devonta Smith. But I don't play Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts with that. You understand how that build is so unique, but it's filling out your salary to be able to get those raw points in that you need. Now you're left with 4,600 for tight end, flex, defense, and running back. Like, these are just the builds that I try to look for, where it's like, okay, if you decide to play those spend up receivers that are all good plays that I talked about, and this is the inverse of what I was mentioning before of fading those guys, why don't you just play all those good receivers, avoid Barkley, and play Josh Jacobs, pair it with Jordan Love, And Jordan Love is now naturally naked, right? He's not with any of his receivers. You're not even guessing at the receivers. And what if it is a Josh Jacobs receiving touchdown? What if Jordan Love runs one in and Josh Jacobs runs two in?
I got to stop you there. What? Jordan Love, 1 touchdown in his last 30 regular season appearances.
I know.
But it could change. We never know when it's going to happen. Point to you, but cold bucket of reality from me.
He did rush for his most yards last game, 29.
29, baby. 29.
But like, what if he throws the tight end? What if he throws it to Luke Musgrave, right? And then he runs one in, and then Jacobs runs two in. The point I'm getting at is, if you play those 3 chalk receivers, that's how you can play it unique, by not playing Barkley and playing it Jacobs, and then having Love naked by itself. It's just, this is a raw point slate, right? When it's like a weird raw point slate, you either have to build a unique raw points combination, or you leave salary on the table, which the stochastic sims will do for you very naturally. And instead of playing, I don't know, AJ Brown, you just play Devonta Smith and you leave $1,000 on the table, right? Those are the proper ways to build lineups. I don't know what's going to win, but it's all about thinking through that process, which I think is key.
Yep. So if we look here, this is the unfettered stock settings for a single lineup sim. It's Hurts, Barkley, Brown, Smith, Goddard, Eagles. Seriously, we're going to do an Eagles onslaught with Swift. Who else was it? Cortland Loveland, and then Terry McLaurin. That's what everybody's going to want to play. Go away from the Eagles, and you have a chance here of being super different. So
100%. Like we said before, if you just kind of avoid those Eagles, and maybe it's just playing only Dallas Goedert, who's in at a weak position overall, but you still fade AJ Brown, Smith, and all these other guys. Maybe it's playing Jalen Hurts by himself, and he just pushes 3 tush pushes. You know what I mean? Or it's just a super low scoring game and it's only 1 or 2. So there's definitely ways to do it. You just have to think it through. I know we were talking about quarterback, and we can get maybe back on task and go to running back Emac, but I just think it's an important conversation when it comes to this.
Yeah, most definitely. So rounding out the keynotes on quarterback here, Hurts has 8 rushing touchdowns. He's pacing for 10, which would be his lowest since his first year as a starter. Caleb Williams, the key call outs for him is he already has basically the same stats that he did last year through 16 or 17 games. He's got those already now through 3 games less. One of the things I can't stand is when people say, oh, the Bears are the only franchise that have never had a 4,000-yard passer. If you go look, great. Cleveland has had 1 4,000, and they've been around all about as long as the Bears. It was Brian Sipe, for those wondering, back in 1980. Jacksonville has 3 quarterbacks who have thrown for more than 4,000 yards. So if you don't have the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Brady's, the Drew Breeses, those guys, you don't have that many franchise 4,000-yard players. It's just a thing, and it's mostly the outdoor teams in the AFC and NFC Central that tend to be lacking on that, or NFC North as well. All right, we didn't really talk on Mariota. So here's the key things for him. Last game, he was only attempted 19 passes, but he was 10 for 19. Great. That's not much PPR points. He threw for 211 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 43 yards on 10 carries. So he has, I would say, probably the best rushing upside yardage-wise on the slate today. We'd like to think Hurts does, but he hasn't done it very often this year. I believe Hurts only has 4 games with more than 40 rushing yards. So that's, it's just not what they need him to do at this point. But rounding out Mariota here, a very consolidated Washington passing core, because everybody's gotten hurt. And they are down to McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, no real tight end. We'll say Bates is the tight end because he is.
Or Sinat, right?
Sinat. He's like an H-back who he should.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if they decide to he is in his second year, and if they decide to be okay, the season's over, we're gonna develop, but I don't know if they're gonna do that. I'm just throwing it out.
Sure. Yeah, they each had 1 target last week. Again, there were only 19 targets, but they.
I'll tell you this, he's on my showdown cash team, Emac. So there you go. He's on my.
Okay. Well, you know what? He's not on my Showdown Cash team, but you guys can go pick up either one of us in the DK lobby. $1 head-to-heads. I'm team free money. Make sure you get mine because I'm just losing everything this year. Username Emac. You can find Travis. Username Mangone there, and you can go after Travis. Ladder up. You can find him at the $2, $5, $10 ranges there on most sports because he is a hardcore cash game grinder. So we got Deebo Samuel here. He has 3 touchdowns in the last 5 games. Okay, that's not bad. 6 or more receptions in 4 of the last 5. Okay, that's pretty solid. And then the one game they didn't need him was the 41-24 win against the Raiders. So Deebo's really had 4 good games in his last 4 meaningful games. McLaurin coming back from his own injuries, but in the 2 games that he has been on the field with Mariota as the starter, he has 18 targets, 10 catches, 165 yards. Shocker. Veteran quarterback wants to feed the best receiver on the team. This is how these guys stick around and get that next cushy backup quarterback role. So Mariota is no fool. He's going for his key guy. We mentioned nothing really there on the tight ends. The Bears are down to DJ Moore today. Rome Odunze is missing his 3rd consecutive game. Luther Burden, their rookie, is out. That means you're going to get Olamide Zaccheaus is going to be playing kind of out of the slot, but you're also going to see more 2 tight end sets with Corton Loveland and Cole Kmet. So both those guys are capable. And as Travis mentioned, really there's one good tight end on the slate, and it's Goddard. If we round things out here with the last of the pass catchers, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith have just had ridiculous target shares, percentages of the actual production, but sportsbooks have Hurts for 28.5 passing attempts and just 18.5 completions. So by the time you start spreading that out amongst their big 3 guys, it's not overly exciting, but it feels better to click on the Eagles. What do you want to say about the pass catchers? Then we can hit the running backs and we can build some stuff on screen. This is going to be fun today.
For sure. So we're on the pass catchers.
Pass catch.
Yeah. So, I mean, I said it before, like AJ Brown, McLaurin, Devonta Smith, they feel like those are like the 3 guys that a lot of people gravitate towards. I'd agree. Also, Christian Watson, maybe some are a little nervous about the Q tag on him. And I will say Deebo Samuel feels like he has higher ownership than I would like. But yeah, I think Terry McLaurin, it's between Terry McLaurin and maybe AJ Brown, just because I'm trying to fill out salary, is like my 2 favorite receivers if I had to pick. DJ Moore obviously is going to have a lot of really good opportunity. I'm not too worried, I think, about like chalk at receiver. I like Jaden Reed a lot. That's like, I guess, one of the more unique guys on this slate that I could make a case for if I had to pick. Another guy that you can make the argument for is like Zaccheaus, just because he's wide receiver 2, but is he really wide receiver 2? I think you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets from the Bears. And obviously they're going to, run the ball a ton. So that's one of the worries. But my favorite, like, I guess off the board receiver, if you consider it that, is Jaden Reed. That would be like my off the board guy. If you really wanted to go really crazy, it'd probably be a Dontavion Wicks as long as he's active and good to go. But the problem is you just don't need that salary, right? Like that's the issue that we run into on this slate. You just don't have to spend up for a lot of things. So I'm just not dying to go down to those cheap options. If I did go below 4K, it's between Wicks or Zaccheaus. Like that's, and like I said, I'm not focusing on those guys just because I want to play these good plays, but find the unique way to do it. Because again, it's not this slate where it's like, okay, if I jam in CMC and I jam in Amon-Ra St. Brown, can I find some 3.3K guy that people aren't looking at? Like, that's just not that kind of slate. You know what I mean? Like so I think you have to play these good plays, but just find the right way to do it. Jaden Reed, though, is definitely a guy that I'm probably taking a stand on compared to the field.
All right. Nothing really to add there other than it's just very, very crowded when we get to the Green Bay receivers. Because, as you mentioned, still have Christian Watson. I don't hear the words Romeo Dobbs rolling off your little diatribe there. And then we have the tight ends because no Tucker Kraft. So the thing, and Travis can sort of back this up since if he sees these a similar way as a Packers fan, but we've seen the crowded wide receiver room for Green Bay the last couple of years, right? They're all young. They're all kind of competing. This year, a bunch of them have been hurt. throughout it. But the thing you could always say is, hey, I don't mind Tucker Kraft as we march into the playoffs or the primetime games, because he sort of is not fighting those guys. Well, Tucker Kraft isn't available. He's hurt. So you have Musgrave in there now, and then John Fitzpatrick. So I think those guys are okay plays as well. Musgrave, remember, he and Kraft were what, second and third round picks the same year they both came into the league. So had he not, Musgraves had been injured all of his seasons in the league. Had he not, had that been Kraft, we would probably think of Musgrave very similar to Kraft. Kraft just had more time to develop and get there. So Musgrave was a capable player, but I like those guys better than trying to pin the tail on the Packers receiver.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to do it. And if you want to just correlate it with Jordan Love, that's perfectly fine. I see Christopher in the chat is upset that a Packers fan is touting Packers. I get that, but I'll just say this, Chris. I don't know if you're a Bears fan and that's why you're upset, but if you're not a Bears fan, and I'm sure you know this too, you watch football, but I feel very confident based on the way the Bears have been playing, especially with how shorthanded they are at receiver, that they are going to be playing more 2 tight end sets. They're going to be running the ball. And if you want to say, oh, it's DeAndre Swift, the common guy, listen, we have a sample now, and we saw them kick the shit out of the Eagles defense running the ball, right? Emac, if I told you in September the Eagles were going to get ran over by the Chicago Bears, you would have laughed at me. I would have laughed at you. And this Packers D is now banged up. Ball control is definitely not a bad way to play with the Bears in this cold weather. I just don't see the upside as much in that, where I just think they're going to try and run the ball a bunch. And with the Packers' defensive struggles that are going to be coming up now, I think with Micah Parsons' injury, again, still a good defense, but that could have been the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I just think it's going to be a more run-heavy approach from this Bears team. And so, yeah, I'm gonna play more pin the tail on the donkey roulette with the Packers receivers with Jaden Reed. But I get if you want to go the Luke Musgrave route. I just think you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets. And one way you could do it with the pass catchers is, what if you decide to play Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, right? Like a double stack of that. I don't know if you need to. Again, like the salary matters, but that's one way that you could easily approach it if you think they're going to do the 2 tight end sets, like I kind of talked about. I thought about, hey, if I see a team that goes those 2 tight end sets where it's like a Cole Kmet and a Colston Loveland, that's not a bad way to go. Maybe it's like paired with Caleb Williams and DeAndre Swift. They put up 28 and they run 2 touchdowns in, and Caleb Williams passed to both those guys. So also, the Eagles game could just completely dud, and you don't need that much from some of these guys too. Because if one game decides to go, let's say it's like the if you watch Texas A&M and Miami play in college football today, final score of that game was 10-3. There wasn't much scoring. If that Eagles game is somehow 10-3, or on the flip side, the Packers game is 10-3, like you're just not going to need guys from the one game. So again, it's a 2-game slate. It's like it's a crazy puzzle that we're trying to put together.
Yeah, another strategy, and this is one that Alex Baker, Awesemo, founder of the site, used to talk about on the 2-game slates, is what if you build some of your lineups without one of the teams?
Yes.
Just say, okay, well, these 10 lineups, I'm not going to have this team. And that's a different way of saying, hey, what if that team does? Now you got 4 chances instead of the 50-50 on the game chance. But it's a similar thing. It's like, how do I, think of it like potential postponement rain delay or a rain out in baseball. How do I want to play some of those people because I want to take the risk, but how do I isolate that to specific lineups that can take the most advantage of disastrous outcome or outlier outcome? Is kind of the way to look at that. All right, let's hit the running backs here. So Saquon Barkley, obviously, had the season for the ages last year, has just a 3.9 rushing yards per attempt this season. That's one of the lowest of his careers. I think he had like a 3.7 year with the Giants. He actually he's not super active in the passing game. For everything we think about Saquon Barkley, he really doesn't get super active in the passing game. He has about as many passing targets, receptions, and yards, like almost identically, and 2 touchdowns to what he did the full season last year. He's just, of course, when he led the league in 125 rushing yards per game, yards from scrimmage per game, and touches and everything. That's not happening this year. It's not that he's old and dusty, though he has looked far less explosive. The offensive line has just not been there for him. Lane Johnson's been hurt for most of the year. They've started multiple offensive line combinations, and then, of course, the retirement of from a couple years ago of Jason Kelsey. It just serves to just the institutional line that used to be such a strength when they started Hurts in his first year, and the offensive line has gotten just worse each season, and now it's almost a weakness at this point. So we're really seeing that bear out in the running game. But Barkley's getting the full workload. I don't think you really want to go to. Would you even consider Shipley or Bigsby on this slate?
No. Again, like I'm not jamming CMC or ASB. You would need like Barkley to get hurt, right? And then like you'd probably want like I don't know. I just don't think it makes sense. If you did, you probably need to be playing. You probably need to be playing Josh Jacobs. You probably need to be playing Josh Jacobs as your other running back with Bigsby, and then your flex is either going to be like a higher, like a mid-tier receiver or another running back, right? That would probably be the way you would do it. But it seems very unnecessary. If I did really want to play Bigsby, Emac, like really wanted to, which I don't think is the right idea, because if Jacobs is out, you're just going to probably play Wilson, and maybe you'd play Barkley and Bigsby together, and then you would fade the passing game of the Eagles. But like, it just seems too off the board. That's my thought.
No, that definitely makes sense here. So I was just building out my showdown lineups. I'm back to classic. I'm going to build out my DK lineups here on the screen. We're going to continue marching through all of our fun, but just a reminder, everybody, we do have Tails as the sponsor of the show. So let me share this tab over here. So showed you how you guys could follow me if you want to. That's where all my DFS content's going to be for the next little while here. Is over there on Tails. It's free. My stuff's always going to be free. But if you want to find an expert here, look at that. Over 200 experts. You can filter by our different leaderboards. You can search by their names. So like if we wanted to look for Mangone, because that is Travis, we can see here that how easy it is to find him. If you guys want to follow him, he does have some free content. He also has VIP content there. You got any promo codes for our people here?
Yeah, holiday 50 for 50% off. I do DFS. I do betting stuff. So yeah, that's the code. And yeah, I have one NFL bet up for this weekend. And then I'm sure I'll go through some tonight. It's just crazy time with all the college football and NFL. So
yeah, but I know you also have a Discord as well. So your members get access to you in your Discord, correct?
Yep, and if you ever have questions about stuff, obviously happy to help. Can run stuff like props through some of the tools that I use and look at that if you have questions. So happy to help. And yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we can have a big weekend. Like I said, busy weekend, man. So many games on. It's I love this time of year, but I hate it. It's all in one, right, Emac? It's like,
plus then your family wants you to do things.
I'm not going home to see the family because I was like, it's like, it sounds too hectic this year. So I'm gonna be hunkered down watching all the games. I am kind of excited about that part. Don't have to travel at the airport around the holidays, which is a win.
Always fun. We mentioned Josh Jacobs, but if he is out, Emmanuel Wilson is a fine option. He had a spot start in week 12 against Minnesota. He rushed a whopping 28 times, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 2 targets for 18 yards. He's had a couple decent games, even with Jacobs healthy, and the Packers have put him back there as the kick returner the last 2 weeks, trying to take advantage of his playmaking ability. So there's kind of our thoughts on there. I'm going to go way under on Jacobs today. But again, if he's out, we've got enough salary that we can find somebody. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. If we consider Swift and Monangai, Swift's been limited in practice with that groin issue, but the rookie has caught up to him. Basically, it's a 55-45 snap share differentiation over the last month, with the rookie closing the gap there. Monangai has 4 touchdowns in the last 6 games against Philadelphia 3 games ago, as you mentioned. And this is kind of mucking with some of the, but they've done this over the last number of games. Yeah, he had 22 carries for 130 yards in the score. I believe Jacobs also had 100 yards in that game. So that's really influencing things. But point being is he has done very well. Week 9 spot start when Swift was out. He had 26 carries for 176 yards. Caught 3 of 5 targets for 22 yards. That was against Cincinnati, but still good to see him do that. FanDuel actually has Monangai $200 more which is where I'm going with this. That's where Travis is playing. I'm on FanDuel. You got a $1,000 discount for Mangone here. How do you want to approach these guys? You good playing them together? Do you want to play one or the other? Any rules you want to set on that?
I definitely think you can play them together. Like I saw someone in the chat ask that. You can certainly play them together. I believe I'm playing them together on one of the sites. I can't remember which one, but I remember seeing them both together on something. And I easily think you can play them together. I lean Mangone if I have to pick one. That is a former Rutgers University alum there, Emac. So
is that your school?
Well, it's not my school. I did go to Seton Hall, but as someone that's from New Jersey, right? Like we don't got many college football players to own. So I guess I'll own, Isaiah Pacheco and Kyle Mangone. So but I do think he's good. I liked him in college, and he's came along really nicely in this system. You expect with rookies, they only get better as the season progresses, you would assume. And I like the spot for Mangone. So he's definitely a good running back for me. If you want to play both, certainly fine. I talked about how I think the Bears are going to have a more run-heavy approach, and we'll see if they're successful at it. So I'm definitely with you, Emac. I like Kyle Mangone. He's certainly someone I like. I know you're playing the Jacobs situation a little bit differently than me, but what do we have Jacobs' ownership at? Do you see?
So we have him at 77%.
That's like crazy to think. I thought it would be a lot lower. Like I'm surprised, but
I've capped him at 35, and so I'm doing this on the screen here. So if you guys have closed the tab, you can kind of see what I'm doing. I don't have Emmanuel Wilson here, right? And he's only in 8% of our stuff. So I'm going to show you guys. So there's two ways you could do this. Basically, you get more Jacobs, and then you just hot swap to Emmanuel Wilson, or scroll through your lineups and change them as you see how things play out in the first game and switch to Wilson. The other way is, and this is where you want to be careful playing around with the stochastic contest generator, but we can come in here and we can say, all right, let's go look at Wilson, and you want to increase what he is in the pool. So you give that a few different clicks. Every click's going to make him about 5%, 6%, 7%, 8%. See what I'm doing there to increases what is in the pool. And then I'm going to regenerate these lineups because I want him to be in some of my lineups. But again, you can just hot swap this. We've got plenty of time between now and that late game, and you're just leaving more salary on the table if you want to selectively go through. It's easy to global swap if Jacobs is out, but if he's in, then you can pick certain lineups where you want to do take a particular tact.
Yeah, and your Jacobs could easily look at it. Your Jacobs could easily become
Mangone or Swift.
Mangone or Swift, and then instead of playing, I don't know, like a flex, like if you have Colston Loveland in the flex, maybe it gives you DJ Moore. You know what I mean? They're swaps, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yep, and then but let's see. Emmanuel. So even me doing all that, I only got up to 2.6%. So this is one where it's like, all right, I'm going to play the approach now of saying, well, let's look at all the running backs in those late games. What do I want to do? So here I may say, I don't want to play all that Jacobs, but I'm going to relax this just in the interest of time because I know I'm going to go in and adjust these guys more manually. But I'm going to that is my main goal, is to back off. But salary is not a thing today, so it's not as daunting here. So I'll start out with 60% Jacobs, and then I can be more selective from that. But that does mean I got to sit around the computer more. So careful what you wish for. Careful what you wish for.
How much Jordan Love do you have? Because I'm currently trying to pick my favorite team for single entry, and I don't get a lot of Jordan Love. So I was wondering. Like sometimes this is where I fight the optimizer, right? It's like, okay, like obviously the Sims could be right or I could be right, and I like to align, but like I don't know, like what are they seeing that I'm not? Because I'm not getting a lot of Jordan Love, if that makes sense.
So it's coming in under the field. So this is the interesting spot. I'm getting a lot of Caleb Williams. So I can see here that I'm 3 times the field. So for that, I want to be above on everybody, but I'm going to hit him to 20% and see if that pushes anything towards Jordan Love. So by doing that, and it's going to 40 because the way the math works and the other parameters I've got set here on my stuff, but you can see I still am below the field on Love. So I'm going to tap that positive ROI a few times and see how that does. So it doesn't only give you Jordan Love.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't get a lot. I think it's because of like the pass catchers and some correlation stuff.
I think it's So let's look at that real quick here. We can filter our lineups quickly and go to quarterback, and we can say Love. Oops, not low, but Love. And then you can see, look, it's trying to do all these plus whatevers, and it's not making good lineups. And that's where you can come in here and say, okay, well, let me relax the stacks rules here a little bit. So we can say and stack type. We can say contains QB plus 1. And then that'll just show us our QB plus 1. And that could be anybody on the team. I mean, I'm okay with that, but that's a quick way to come in here and say, oh, okay, well, let me get him out of some of my stuff. And
one of the funny things too about my Love stacks is they always go Barkley and Jacobs, right? It's just because like salaries, like we just have endless salary today, right? Like, so that's one of the issues with it. Because I was wondering, like if I played Love and Jacobs together and I played it with Swift or Benungai, like that would be pretty unique. Like, what could that look like? It's funny. It's just not even pushing it. So that's why
we can do that by does not contain Saquon. And, oh look,
they don't exist. And they're negative. Yeah, that's what. But Emac, so like I obviously came on the show and like this is what I wanted to do with my team, and like I just don't. It's just dumb to do, right? So like I'm probably not going to do it. End of the day. But yeah, these are, and this is why having the Sims package is great, right? And it helps you like kind of figure out, okay, what's good, what's not. Another thing I like to look at too. I don't know how much you look at this stuff, but when I pick one team, I like to look at the cash rate and like the win rate, right? And try to find something that might be a nice blender mix, especially let's say you're like a one lineup guy, right? Like there's some people in the chat that they're only playing one team today. They want to sweat, and like, listen, you probably don't want to sweat it with some crazy sim team that goes Chris Rodriguez, and maybe the win equity is great in like the 30 billion sims that it runs. But like, end of the day, you kind of want a team that has a good cash rate too sometimes. So especially if you're playing single entry. So that's another thing that you can look at where it helps you with some of your decision makings by using the sims. So yeah, some information that might help someone is like a one lineup.
Yep. Those are all good points. All right. So what am I going to do here? So I want to pick some of these lineups here. So what I'm going to quickly do is just filter my quarterbacks here.
Build it up.
Let's do Caleb. Decent number of Caleb, but you're right. All these are going to pop with Jacobs and Barkley, which is just, it gets a little old. So what do I want to do to fix that? Let's say add one more, and lineup does not contain Jacobs. Well, no, let's do Barkley because I can still flip these around. But you see, look at that, killed it. Only one positive lineup, and I'm leaving 3,400 on the table.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting.
Those are. I actually like to use that to like look at stuff. I think it's I just think it's an interesting thing to give yourself information on the slate, which right, like you can use the tool to research as well to figure out, okay, what's going on. Like one of my best slates this year, it helped me realize, hey, like I need to go cheap quarterback, and then I didn't go to the cheap quarterbacks it was suggesting. I went Jameis Winston, and then he had like one of the biggest games of his year. So. It's just that's how I like to use the tool for sure.
All right. And there's a quick way to build lineups without Barkley. So just say no Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do 20 of those. Now we can see that's got some serious negative ROI quickly, but I can come over here, look at favorites. I can scroll down and see, ooh, some of these I don't really want. Some of them, is it really that bad of a lineup? No, it's got Chris Rodriguez. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine, right? This one's got perfectly fine. Jalen Reed. Why would I hate these? So that's the other thing to remember is while these are negative ROI lineups, what you're going to find out on a slate like this is those lineups are going to be like whatever wins today is going to be probably a negative ROI lineup.
I hope not, Emac, because I'm not picking one of those. So I hope you're wrong.
It's just, you're threading that needle. Let's see. I do not want Devonta Brown.
I will say, Emac, I have one Jordan Love team that is up really high, and I think that's the one I'm just going to pick. Just because I'm on the show and I'm scrambling a little bit, I doubt unless I find a Jordan Love thing that fits what I want to do, or a Jalen Hurts team that I might want to do. But I'll say this: the Mariotas and Caleb Williams, right? If you're listening to the show and you're building your lineup, like that is what is being pushed. And as you can tell with Emac screen, Caleb Williams is definitely being pushed there.
Yeah. Oh, it's doing Love and Love Land.
Aha. Yes. I had that issue last week. I think I noticed.
It's all, and this is why you don't want to do it at the very end. You want to play around with this, so you know. Can I not spell Jordan? Jordan Love. All right.
God, I love it. So I just found a team that's like so unique. It goes Jalen Hurts. It goes Jalen. It actually goes the thing that I talked about earlier. It goes Jalen Hurts, Goddard, and Saquon Barkley. And then the crazy thing is it doesn't go any of the pass catchers for the Eagles. And it goes 3 running backs. So like if I just explained it in that way, like I know this team is like a unique, sharp team in its own way. That's an interesting one for sure. And those are like the things I try to look for. The only thing it does is it does play oh, that's FanDuel. Never mind. I'm on the wrong site. So that actually doesn't count. Never mind. You get what I'm saying, Emac. Look for these unique setups is what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely. So what I'm doing is I'm putting these in Excel so I can remove duplicates because I just want to get my specific 50 lineups for those that are wondering. And yeah, it's a little more tricky than I was anticipating while doing this on screen. So my last one, I got 37 lineups in there that look really good. I'm changing this to 3 uniques because I want to spread everything out. I'm doing one last look through the player adjustments here. Getting a lot of Hurts, not getting as much. I want more Mariota and Love. Let's just move Hurts down to 10%. Let's ride or die with these other guys here. Let's see what that does. Makes a lot of negative ROI lineups, but that's okay. Pump those out, and I'm going to upload my stuff, and then we can answer some questions here, do some other stuff as time permits. The remove duplicates feature in Excel, quite the lifesaver. Let me do that one more time because you know why? I need 2 more lineups. All right, what did you end up getting for your FanDuel builds?
Yeah, let me pull it up one sec. I'm canceling some head-to-head, so I don't forget to do it later because that's never fun. Actually, I need to do the FanDuel ones too, so let me get that moving. But FanDuel, my quarterbacks are Jordan Love, 30%, Mariota, 28, Hurts, 28, and then 14 on Caleb Williams. My highest exposed guys are Barkley, DeAndre Swift, and Loveland. Obviously, Swift and Monangai and all that can change, which I'm going to worry about later. And 72% Josh Jacobs, so I'll be able to adjust that. It seems like my big stand, it looks like on FanDuel, it looks like I'm pretty low on AJ Brown. So, which honestly, he's very boom bust. So I think that's a good place to be. So AJ Brown looks like my biggest FanDuel stand. I'm very low on it.
All right. Reminder to everybody: we are going to have a NFL or probably an NBA live before lock here. That will be at 6 o'clock. Another special guest will be on that, so you guys will want to tune in and check that out. If you haven't yet, sign up for the old Stochastic YouTube channel and subscribe. We're over 108,000 subscribers now. That is very, very cool. One of the largest DFS channels in the entire world. It's fun to say that because it is our world, but hey, it's a true statement. But check that out. You guys can always find all the content that we have. We've got Josh Engelman is continually in the lab building out different things for his NBA process and sharing those on screen. Eric Lindquist is building some really cool tools there using AI. He is going to start sharing some of those a little bit more, I suspect. So check it out. We've got a lot of stuff here for you at Stochastic. All right, let me find my lineup where's my file that has 50 lineups? I had too many Excel tabs open. Oh my God. Less panic, deep breaths over here. There we go. There's 50 lineups. Get these uploaded. Should have named my Excel files rather than just accepting download 1, download 2, download 3.
Yeah, naming stuff makes things a little bit easier. It's also, there's so many slates going on with Showdown and everything. I'm canceling, like I said, canceling all my head-to-heads now, as many as I can, so I can, at least the higher stuff. Some of the lower stuff I'll leave hanging around, but got to get it done while I can.
All right, I got that all uploaded. Let's see if we have questions coming in here from anybody. We've got no one mentioned Chris Rodriguez. Okay, yeah, good point. We didn't really cover the Redskins. Sorry, Commanders. Here, I can't believe I said that, but I was digging through deep into the Pro Football Reference, and it changes it to the Redskins logo before their name changed. So that caught me off guard today. I believe they hate all running backs. Doesn't matter the coach, doesn't matter the owner. They hate their running backs, aside from Austin Eckler, who is hurt. You know, the last guy they seemed to really care about was those 2 years, 2018, 2019, when it was Adrian Peterson. If you guys remember that, Adrian Peterson had two years, 1,800 yards combined in those years with Washington. But we've seen them just hate all their running backs. Chris Rodriguez is the more professional version of Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. We complain about Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt because he's not involved in the passing game. He has, I think, 13 or so targets this year. Chris Rodriguez has 5 in his career. Over 30 games, he has started 6 of those games. So he's even more of a zero in the passing game than Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. But this is how much they hate JCM, because last week Rodriguez was out. It was, who is it? Jeremy McNichols or McIntosh, whoever it is. They're the forever NFL nomad. He started the game, which is no surprise, but he also got the first 4 carries. So Washington hates their running backs. They're decimal backs. They're not exciting. You're hoping for a touchdown. You're hoping, and not only that, they don't really have breakaway speed. You want one of them to fall into the end zone. I got nothing good to say about them, and the Commanders have nothing good to say about any of them either. That said, I have looks like 40% of Rodriguez. So yay me.
That never sounds fun, but I get it. It happens. It's DFS, right? Sometimes we play bad players because it just makes the salary work. So I get it.
Unfortunate. All right, 8 minutes to go here. We talked a little bit about Tails. Again, that is free that you guys can get, and it does have some premium content there. You can search out whoever you would like. Look at the leaderboards here. You can sort by who's on a heater, who's got the most profit for a set period of time, a week, 2 weeks, a month, who has the most likes. That's a way to show if people are happy with your recommendations. You can see we have the long shots, which is also interesting. These are folks that put out a ton of props, multi-leg props, so they do not pay off as often. But if you are disciplined and choose them correctly, it's like the DFS GPP version of sports betting. So always a lot of fun. You want to find somebody specific, like say your old pal, because you want some free DFS content here. You can sort and look, there I am. You guys can give me a follow. See, I picked up about 10 followers during the show, but that's where you'll get all of my DFS contents until we open up the WordPress part of the site again. Okay, who are you terrified of not having enough of?
Who am I terrified of not having enough of? I guess on FanDuel, it would be AJ Brown. On DraftKings, it looks like it's AJ Brown. But I will say in cash, I'm fading DJ Moore, so I am a little scared of not having DJ Moore. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's AJ Brown, I think. I think he's someone I'm kind of leaving off and maybe getting a little bit more balanced. And I think I'm pushing my chips a little bit heavier on Josh Jacobs the more I look at it. So, and Emac, I am playing the Jordan Love team, I think. I found one I like. It fades AJ Brown. So again, AJ Brown looks like the guy as we come full circle.
All right. You got a request. What is your one last call on your Jacobs read for today? What's your prediction?
I think he's playing. The dude battles. I mean, keep in mind, Emac, this was a dude that in high school was living in his car. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you know this story, but
don't.
yeah, he was living in his car and like basically on like the varsity football team. He was homeless. Like, and I know this is like a lame story for me to like use the reason, but I've also seen him do it for so many other games where I'm like, oh, is he really going to play this game? And then he plays. And this is a big game. I mean, the game against the Bears is massive. So I think he's going to find a way to play. Will he play 95% of the snaps? Probably not. But like 75, are they going to mix Wilson in? Yeah, they're probably going to mix Wilson in. But on this slate, listen, I can afford Josh Jacobs. It's just we have a lot of salary. It's easy to make work. So, yeah, I'm playing Josh Jacobs.
All right. What else do we have? Just looking to see if there's any other questions here in the old chat. Let's see. Packers wide receivers is pure crap. For DFS purposes, yes, but Love doesn't play favorites, and now they're mostly healthy. This is a good thing for Packers. Surprisingly. Bad for us, good for them. Much like Jacoby Brissett is bad for Arizona. Oh, was he really bad for Arizona? At least they're fun to watch. If I was an Arizona fan, I think I'd like Jacoby Brissett because the games are at least more fun with him. Sorry, Kyler Murray. Sorry. What else do we have? The Washington defense needs to stand up today. Yeah, they have so many injuries. It's just how were they in the NFC championship game last year?
I don't know. It happens every year. Every year there's like a team that just gets decimated, and like they've been decimated the whole season, if that makes sense. Like the Packers are definitely like close to that list, but they've been able to survive a little bit. But like, the Commanders, they've just been hit from day one, and it just keeps falling. It keeps just raining on them.
Yeah, it is. It is not good. Some would say no bueno when it comes to that. Rank the Packers receivers. I can definitely do that for you. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to drop this link into chat because I ranked them. I ranked everybody on the full player pool here. So I'm going to scroll down here, try to put these in order. Let's look at wide receivers. I said Reed, Dobbs, Watson, Golden, and Wicks. And this was the preferred order for this very crowded position. Though if Watson was not dealing with injuries, he would be ahead of his teammates. Love doesn't play favorites, so let personal risk tolerance and salary cap constraints be your guide. In other words, confetti. It's tough to pinpoint. I agree with that. That Reed is interesting. Plus, he does tend to get a carrier too. And if anything were to befall Jacobs, he would probably pick up a couple carries.
Yeah, I'm team Jaden Reed. So I'm Reed over Watson in tournaments. I think the ownership gap that you're getting is it's too damn high, as the meme says, right? It's too damn high, and I'm in. So.
All right. While you guys are here, let's see what old Lindy is up to here. We'll let you guys peek behind the VIP. Oh, that's right. He was on air last night. That was fun. Looks like that was yesterday. Yep, probably not doing that again. But we'll have to see. He's started doing some more fun things on air. Look, you can see he's got his free plays here for the week. You can see some of these are promotional or VIP packages, premium, if you will.
I saw a Shuck graphic, which means he obviously likes Shuck, and I like Shuck. So I don't know what he's betting on it, but I like Shuck.
Well, let's see. Tyler Shuck, anytime touchdown, plus 305. They're going back to the well on that. And is that, good God, is that Audric Estime music? Oh, speaking of teams decimated by injuries and salary cap constraints, it's the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, the estimate one makes sense. I get it, and it's a Fanatics line, right? And so is the Shuck one. Those are probably good lines. Definitely shop it around, but yeah, it's probably just like it's probably an error, not an error, but like just clear value. Value is probably the best way to word it.
Yeah, and you guys can always find the best lines here by using Portfolio EV. You can set up here. I've got the NBA portfolio set up. You can see I'm in Florida, so I only get the Hard Rock and then some of the sweepstakes sites here. But this is a good way to find available wagers. And the fun thing is you can even click and see the differences between all of them and see who's got a bat, who's stepped out of place. Like Hard Rock has really stepped out of place. Under 2.5 3-pointers made for Marcus Smart, minus 140. The true line, oops, I closed it out. The true line is probably 150, and you can see a lot of books are posting it at 180. Why would you play on the 180 books? That's the thing I've learned here is I go look and see how bad are the Hard Rock lines, because they suck for home runs and for touchdowns. But every now and then you get a good touchdown number there. So you got to shop around here.
Did you bet Joshua last night on Hard Rock with a really good line? They had minus 750 while everyone else had minus 1,200. If you
I did. I turned my whatever I could max out on that their bonus bet. My $25 turned into 28 something. So yes, I did, Travis. Yes, I did. So,
Emac, you picked up the $3 off the ground that were just sitting there for you.
If there
were $3 on the ground, I hope you would pick it up. I mean, it's not the
and
worst
then you just give it to somebody who really needs it.
Yeah, there you go. Tip your dealer just a little bit heavier next time. The $3 you saw on the ground.
All right. With that, we're at the end of the show. Kickoff is about to happen. So tune in 1 hour. You're going to get the NBA live before lock. I need to go brush up on what's happening because we've got 2 distinct slates. FanDuel is going with the 3 late games as well. So DK's got the sprint. FanDuel has the full Monty, if you will. And we're going to have another guest host, our guest analyst on tonight in 1 hour. So check that out. Hit the like button. Where can they follow you, Travis?
Follow me at Travis Mangone, and I will not be participating in the NBA contest tonight. You guys can enjoy.
You will be adjusting your lineups. Your 150.
No, I took off on NBA today. I told you, I said this is not I'm not playing it today. If you want to play it, go ahead. There's too much going on, and you gotta prepare for tomorrow too, Emac. There's NFL tomorrow that you have to make sure you're prepped for. I gotta watch some of the content, read some of the articles, and just kind of get brushed up on the slate, run the optimizer, and figure out what's going on. So.
Good stuff. I'm throwing caution to the wind. I'm going negative EV by playing too much while hosting shows, but at least I have the stochastic tools that should help me from completely making a fool of myself. I can do that all on my own. Follow me at Emac DFS, and of course, it is stochastic over there on Twitter. With that, gamers, good luck.